Do you handle challenges in a healthy manner, or are you a catastrophic thinker? In this episode, we dive into a 5-step process on how to handle challenges. Welcome to the Abundance Hack Show, Season 4, where we are focusing on mastery. The last 3 seasons, I gave you the information. Now, we're focusing on integrating it into our lives and embodying it. If you are ready to master your thoughts, emotions, and patterns to feel whole, fulfilled, and really grounded in who you are without dimming your shine so you can live the abundant life that you truly desire, then you are in the right place. Hey M&Ms, thank you for tuning in to the Abundance Hack Show. What are you manifesting in your life today? Today's topic is having a healthy challenge response. This is actually a continuation from last episode 159, where we chatted with business therapist Shulamit. So even if you're not an entrepreneur, I think that this is a really powerful episode, and she goes over 6 mental health risks for entrepreneurs. However, I believe that these are things that everyone deals with, especially in today's society. So one of the biggest mental health risk for entrepreneurs is isolation. And even if you're not an entrepreneur, I think that we are in a society where people do feel isolated. And I say this because I feel as though social media is connecting us on the surface, but is disconnecting us in real life. Because people are putting their highlight reel forward, a lot of times when people are facing challenges, they keep it to themselves. And if everyone keeps their challenges to themselves, then it appears you're the only one going through challenges and everyone else is living this fabulous, fantastic life. And because of that, I think there's a lot of people that are suffering in silence, and people are not speaking up about the things that they're having a hard time with. So I really think if you haven't listened to that episode, and even if you're not an entrepreneur, definitely go check it out. So I was listening back to the episode, and she mentions a challenge response, and I was like, you know what? This is really powerful. And it made me think about like first responders or firefighters, like how they have a process of how they're supposed to respond when something happens. So they actually do drills, and they actually train them on how to handle challenging situations so they can handle it in a healthy manner. So I'm like, why can't we have a step-by-step process on how to handle challenges? Because challenges are inevitable. No matter who you are, no matter how much you prepare, no matter how much money you have, no matter how strong of a support system you have, you're still going to face some type of challenge. And so if you can have a step-by-step process on how to deal with these challenges, it is going to help build emotional resilience, which I think we really need these days. So that is basically what this episode is about, developing a healthy challenge response. And definitely inspired by Shulamit, I created a 5-step process. So let's go ahead and dive in. So what exactly is a challenge response? And I'm taking this directly from Shulamit's blog, which I'll post the link in the show notes so you can check out her blog where she talks about the challenge response. So she says the challenge response mobilizes the sympathetic nervous system just like the fight or flight response does, but a different ratio of stress hormones are released. The challenge response to stress facilitates decision-making, supports clear, effective, and sustained thinking processes, and enables you to handle negative emotions well. So the way that I would explain that is having a process that keeps you in a healthy state in a challenging situation. So one of the questions that I wrote down in my notes is, are you a catastrophic thinker? And let me just be really honest with you. I am a catastrophic thinker. I have a very extreme personality. I'm either all in or all out. And so when something goes wrong, I have a good solid 10-minute freak out where everything in life is wrong. When one thing goes wrong, so this is one of my toxic patterns, and I'm very self-aware. I think self-awareness is so important. When you have awareness around your toxic patterns, you can choose to shift them. You can choose a different pattern because you have awareness around them. So I'm a catastrophic thinker. When one thing goes wrong, everything is wrong. Like, I'm a little dramatic, you guys. So when one thing goes wrong, I tend to stockpile and I just think about all of the other things in life that's wrong. And even if something isn't wrong, it just feels wrong in that moment because I am a catastrophic thinker. So this is something that when I heard her say challenge response, I'm like, you know what? I need a healthy challenge response. So that's why I came up with this 5-step process. So just like a first responder, a firefighter, they have these processes on how to put out a fire, and a lot of times in life, we have to put out our own fires. So having that solid process to bring ourselves back to a place of acceptance and eventually peace with whatever challenge we're facing. So let's dive in. Step number 1 is recognize and validate what is happening. So this comes directly from Shulamit's blog. Again, the link will be in the show notes if you want to read the full blog. So recognize and validate what is happening. Shulamit says validation helps calm the emotions. And I think this is really, really important. We live in a society that programs us to suppress and deny because we put our highlight reels on social media. We're not acknowledging the challenges. We're not acknowledging the heavy emotions. And we also live in a society that is very much so about the law of attraction and thinking positive, which I believe wholeheartedly in the law of attraction. However, the positive vibes only or positive thoughts only, it tends to have people ignore, deny, or suppress things that aren't positive. So when a challenge arises, are we actually acknowledging and validating what is going on, or are we in a state of denial? And also, I want to add, recognize and validate what's happening, what's actually happening, and not through a lens of trauma. So sometimes we can freak out and we're creating a story in our head that's not actually what's happening. So I think that's really important. So recognizing and validating what is happening and being honest with yourself about what is happening and not suppressing or denying it. So you know what I say, when you suppress or deny, that leads to fragmentation. And if you don't know what I mean by fragmentation, definitely go check out that podcast episode on fragmentation, because it is one of the most powerful concepts that you can understand. So when we suppress or deny something, we're actually breaking off a part of ourselves. And then when we try to live whole and fulfilling lives, we can't. There's a void because there's a part of us that's missing. And then suppressing and denying can also lead to trapped emotions. Trapped emotions leads to physical ailments. Physical ailments leads to illness and disease. So it's really, really important that you recognize and validate what is happening. Number 2 is rate how severe the situation is. So rating systems work really well with my brain. I'm a frameworks person. Obviously, if you've been listening to this podcast episode, I have a framework for everything. That is literally how my brain operates, but it works for me. So we have to figure out what works for us. And I'm sure if you've been listening to me for a while, your brain probably operates similarly, because you're like, okay, yeah, give me more of this information, give me more frameworks, give me more step-by-step processes. So rate how severe the situation is. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being, okay, this is challenging, but it's not that big of a deal. And then 10 being, all hell is about to break loose. So there's a second part of this step, having reinforcement. Okay. So I would say if you rate something from a 1 to 5, you can probably deal with it yourself. Anything 6 or above, do you need reinforcement? And the same way we have emergency contacts. So like, let's just say you go do something. Even yoga, like when you go to yoga and you fill out a waiver, you have to put in an emergency contact for if something goes wrong, right? So having your challenge response contact. So the person you reach out to if something goes wrong. So if you rate this a 6 or above and you need reinforcement, you have your go-to person. And this is important to make sure that it is a person that can properly hold space for you. So sometimes friends, they try to fix, and sometimes family, they tend to dismiss, and not purposely, and not all family, not all friends dismiss or they try to fix things, but someone that can truly hold space for you in a healthy manner that's not going to make you feel worse, it's not going to try to fix it. The most important thing is being heard and being supported. So finding someone in your life that can be your challenge response contact. So basically your emergency contact for your healthy challenge response. And you can actually reach out to this person and just say, hey, I'm naming you my challenge response contact. Just like when you put someone down for your emergency contact, you tell them like, hey, I put you down for my emergency contact, so they know. So having your challenge response contact and just reaching out to them like, you're my challenge response contact. And if shit hits the fan, maybe you don't have to say it that way, but if things get challenging, you're my go-to person that I'm going to reach out to. If you need someone to talk you off a ledge or bring you back to a place of peace or literally just listen to you, because sometimes we just need to be heard, you have that person. Now, if you don't have someone in your life, like a spouse or a friend or a family member, I would recommend a therapist or coach. And if it's something severe, a trauma-informed coach. It's really important because not all coaches are equipped to deal with challenges. So, okay, quick recap. Rate how severe the situation is. If it is a 1 to 5 and you feel like you can handle it on your own, then handle it on your own, but ask yourself, do you need reinforcement? If it's 6 or above, you probably need reinforcement. So reach out to your challenge response contact. So as you're listening to this, start to make a list and maybe have a few options, because I've had situations in life where my go-to person wasn't available. And when you have one person in mind and they're not available, it makes you feel very alone. And that goes back to the isolation piece that we said was, Shulamit says, is the number one mental health risk for entrepreneurs is isolation. So if you have only one person in mind and that one person isn't available, it is a situation that can make you feel very isolated and very alone. And when you're dealing with a challenge, it makes it harder. It makes it harder. And another thing that Shulamit said that I actually love that's just perfect for what I'm saying right now is we are stronger with support. We are stronger with support. So I would say have maybe 3 people that you could potentially reach out to. I think that everyone should have access to a therapist, a coach, a mentor, a healer that they can go to for non-biased space holding, basically, because when you have friends, family, partners, spouses, they are pretty attached to you. And so sometimes they're not able to just completely hold space without a biased opinion. So definitely having your 3 people, and if you have the opportunity to work with a therapist, a coach, a healer, if it's something that is really challenging, making sure that the coach is trauma informed, that's really important. But having a solid support system, go-to people when life gets challenging, it does make things a lot better. We are stronger with support. Okay, number 3 is name what you're feeling. This is something that Brené Brown talks about a lot, and you guys know I love Brené Brown. So really naming what you're feeling. It's easy to kind of panic and get into a space of worry, overwhelm, freak out, but naming what you're actually feeling, like what are you afraid of? How are you feeling? And that process of naming it is liberating. So there was a situation recently where something triggered me, and I was able to feel into like, okay, what is it that I'm feeling right now? Like, because it's easy to say, I'm upset, I'm bothered, I'm triggered. But why are you triggered? What exactly is triggered? And I was able to sit with how I was feeling, lean into it, and really understand, like, okay, why am I upset? Like, I have to ask myself this question, why am I upset? And what I was feeling was neglected. I was feeling neglected. So naming it like I feel neglected was so liberating. And I'll explain quickly why it was liberating. So if you haven't listened to Fragmentation, definitely listen to that podcast episode. Again, fragmentation is one of the most powerful concepts that you can learn to start to live a whole life. So when we have an emotion that subconsciously we think is not okay, so this could be something that was caused at a young age, like you had a specific emotion that your parents told you that was not okay. Like, let's just say a little boy is crying and their parents says to them, suck it up, boys don't cry. It sends the message that crying is not okay for men. So if you are a man and you feel yourself starting to cry, you're going to suppress it. You're not going to allow yourself to feel it. And that part of you becomes fragmented and you suppress it because you don't feel like it's okay. So when you are actually able to name what you're feeling, so crying isn't, necessarily a feeling, but like, let's just say deep sadness. I'm experiencing deep sadness. And being able to admit that as a man is going to be liberating because you're acknowledging that part of you that feels sad. You're honoring the part of you that's freaking out. You're honoring the part of you that is worried or scared. So whatever it is that you're feeling, naming it is you honoring that part of you that is having a hard time with whatever the challenge is. And that's powerful, and it's healing, and it's liberating. So naming what you're feeling. Naming what you're feeling. And you can name it to yourself. Like, you don't have to share it with others, but even sharing it with your challenge response contact, being witnessed in what you're feeling is also liberating, and it makes you feel supported, and it makes you feel seen and heard. So sharing that feeling, whatever you name, sharing that with your challenge response contact could make you feel better. Sometimes we just want to be heard. Sometimes we just want to be heard, and we want to know that we are not in this alone. It's so powerful. Sometimes it really is just that simple, to know that we are not alone, to know that someone hears us, honestly. Okay, number 4 this is another one from Brené Brown, because I love me some Brené Brown. She says, ask yourself the question, do I have enough data to freak out? do I have enough data to freak out? So I just finished the Dare to Lead certification, and this is something I have already implemented in my life, and it is powerful. It is powerful. So like I told you, I'm a catastrophic thinker. So before I go into the world is caving in mode, because it's a whole mood, you guys. Before I go into the world is caving in mode, I ask myself, do I have enough data to freak out? And that has been so grounding for me. So thank you, Brene. Thank you, Brene. This is why I love her so much, because it's just little simple things like that now is stored in the back of my mind. So the next time I get ready to freak out over something, and my freakouts, I know I'm joking about this, like, my freakouts don't last long. They last like 10 minutes, but it's like 10 minutes of freak out that really could be completely avoided if I ask myself the question, do I have enough data to freak out? And if I don't, then don't freak out and maintain a peaceful vibration, you know? So it's like, why freak out? Why send myself into that fight or flight mode if I don't have to? Why go through regulating my nervous system and calming myself down if I don't have to? You know? So step number 4 is ask yourself, do I have enough data to freak out? And then step number 5 is cue the supportive self-talk. So Shulamit in her blog mentions supportive self-talk. So what can you say to comfort and support the parts of you that are freaking out? So that's going to be different for everyone. And Shulamit has a couple of examples of supportive self-talk on her blog, but here's 3 just to kind of get the juices flowing. So saying, I got this, you know, whatever that sounds like for you, because everyone speaks a little differently, but just telling yourself, I got this. I got this. And actually I said 3, but I'm going to add another one in there. This is to comfort your inner child, because a lot of times the parts of us that are freaking out is our inner child that's scared or worried about something. So what I like to do is place my hand on my heart chakra and just say, you are safe. And that's just reaffirming your nervous system and your inner child that you're okay. You know, so placing your hand on your heart chakra and just saying, you are safe. You are safe. Taking a deep breath, breathing into your body, because what we tend to do is disassociate from our body and we shut down and we armor up and we guard ourselves because we're protecting ourselves from whatever could happen from this challenge. But that is disconnecting from our intuition, that's disconnecting from our body, that's disconnecting from ourselves. So staying connected to yourself, placing your hand on your heart chakra and just saying, you are safe. You are safe. Breathing into that feeling of safety. And so this is another good one. Supportive self-talk. It is okay to ask for help. It is okay to ask for help. This one is huge, 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 huge. So I did 2 episodes on receiving, and a lot of people have resistance around receiving help. So this one is huge. It is okay to ask for help. So if you need to tell yourself that over and over and over, especially if you have any resistance around reaching out to your challenge response contact, this one you say, it is okay to ask for help. And then another supportive self-talk option is everything is working out for my greatest good. So this is something I say in my guided meditations anytime we talk about the crown chakra, because crown chakra deals with our connection to source, our faith, our belief. So everything is working out for my greatest good. And if you believe that, when things go wrong, when things are challenging, you know that it's happening for a reason. And when shit hits the fan, it's hard to believe that. It is so hard to believe that. But if you can zoom out, do this 5-step process, and trust that everything is working out for your greatest good, you will see that not only does it usually work out, it works out even better than what you imagined. Even better than what you imagined. So this is one of my favorite supportive self-talks to cue when I'm feeling like the world is caving in on me. Everything is working out for my greatest good. I say it every time I do a chakra meditation. I am sending that energy to my clients when I'm doing chakra balancing because I want people to feel and trust that everything is working out for your greatest good. And sometimes in the thick of it, in the thick of a challenge, it doesn't feel that way. It doesn't feel that way. But having that eagle eye view, being able to completely zoom out to see the big picture, you know that it always works out for you. You know that it always works out for you, and usually better than you even imagine. So really just trusting the process. All right, you guys, let me do a quick recap. The 5-step process to have a healthy challenge response. Number 1, recognize and validate what is happening. Remember what is actually happening and not through a lens of drama or trauma. Number 2 is rate how severe the situation is. On a scale of 1 to 10, is it not that big of a deal, or is all hell about to break loose? And do you need reinforcement? If you need reinforcement, reach out to your challenge response contact. Number 3 is name what you're feeling. Name what you're feeling. Honor that part of you that is freaking out and understand what it's freaking out about. Number 4 is ask yourself, do I have enough data to freak out? Do I have enough data to freak out? Number 5 is cue the supportive self-talk. What can you say to comfort and support the parts of you that is freaking out? And once you go through this process, usually you are going to realize that sometimes we overreact, i.e. me. I'm a catastrophic thinker, so definitely no judgment here. The purpose of this is to be able to have emotional resilience in challenging situations because, like I said, challenges are inevitable. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter where you are in life, things are going to challenge you. So when things challenge you, having a process that allows you to handle the situation in a healthy manner and bring yourself first to a place of neutrality, then to a place of acceptance, and then to a place of peace. So a lot of times we try to go straight to peace, but it's a process. If you look at the map of consciousness, you definitely want to get to neutrality first, and then acceptance, and then peace. So, and there's some steps in between there, but I feel like that's a good overview. So I would absolutely love to hear from you. I would love to know if this is useful. You can definitely reach out to me on Instagram at Niajae, Niajae. And if you are interested in any of my meditation bundles, I finally updated my website. You can go to niajae.com, Niajae.com, and you can click on meditations, and it will take you to the meditation bundles that I have. Usually they include a PDF journal exercise, a sound therapy recording, guided meditation, and they're really transformational. So if you're not in a position where you want to commit to a monthly membership, like Abundant and Aligned Society, you can just purchase a meditation bundle individually. And if you join Abundant and Aligned Society, you get access to all of the meditations that I create. So definitely go to my website if you want more information about that. And I really hope you found value in this. If you know someone that needs to hear this, someone that is experiencing a lot of challenges and having a hard time dealing with them, definitely share this podcast episode. And until next time, be decadent.
Thank you for tuning in to the Abundance Hack Show. I would love to hear from you. Leave your comments and questions, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our yummy episodes. Every time you leave a 5-star rating or review, I do my happy dance.